I thought my sister was just jealous of me all our lives until I uncovered the heartbreaking truth about the secret life she was forced to live in the shadows. And the lies my parents kept hidden from me. I used to think my sister's constant jabs, her sarcastic remarks, and the way she always seemed to shadow my every move came down to simple jealousy. That's what everyone told me, after all. She's just jealous, my mom would say when I complained about how Laura copied my outfits or made snide comments about my friends. You're the older one. You're more responsible. You've always been the one people look up to, feel. Grow out of it. I believed that for most of my life, because it was easier than trying to dig into something deeper. Laura was 2 years younger than me, and while we shared the same dark brown eyes and sharp nose, we were opposites in almost every other way. I was the bookish one, the girl who stayed up late finishing essays and volunteered for extra credit. Laura was the wild one, always chasing after parties, sneaking out, hanging around with people my parents didn't approve of. When I was praised for good grades or getting into honors classes, Laura would roll her eyes and mutter something about how I was the perfect little angel. It hurt, but I shrugged it off. Sibling rivalry. Normal. At least that's what I thought. It wasn't until years later, after both of us were adults, that I learned the truth. And that truth wasn't about petty jealousy at all. It was something darker, heavier, and it left me questioning everything I thought I knew about my sister's life, my parents, and even myself. Growing up, I always felt like Laura and I lived into different worlds under the same roof. The daughter my parents leaned on, the one they told their friends about at church. Laura was the one they sighed about, their problem child. I remember overhearing my mom say once to my dad in the kitchen, "If only Laura could be more like Hannah. She makes things so easy." I never forgot those words, though at the time I didn't think too hard about them. I was too busy basking in the warmth of their approval. Meanwhile, Laura grew more distant. By the time she was 16, she was skipping school, hiding cigarettes in her dresser, and sneering at me whenever I asked why she couldn't just try harder. I thought she was wasting her life, and I told her that more than once. She'd laugh bitterly and call me Mom's little robot. When Laura finally moved out at 18, there was no big tearful goodbye. She slammed the door behind her and didn't come back for months. I remember Mom being relieved, saying, "Maybe some distance will do her good." I nodded, even though something about the emptiness of Laura's room unsettled me. Years passed. I went to college, got my degree, landed a decent job. Laura's life seemed like a constant disaster from the outside. Whenever I asked about her, Mom would sigh and say things like, "She's made her choices. You don't need to worry about her." And so I didn't. I focused on my own life, checking in only occasionally, usually to receive one-word replies or sarcasm in return. I didn't realize at the time how much of her story I wasn't seeing. The turning point came on a rainy Thanksgiving 2 years ago. Laura showed up unexpectedly at my apartment. She looked thinner, her hair brittle and dull, her eyes sunken like she hadn't slept in days. She tried to smile, but it faltered, and I felt this pang of guilt. She wasn't the bratty little sister I remembered. She looked like someone carrying the weight of a secret too heavy to bear. Over dinner, she barely ate. I asked about her work, her friends, her life. She brushed everything off with vague answers. Then, when I was clearing the table, she finally said, "You know, Hannah, you never really saw me. Not once." I froze, plate in my hand. "What do you mean?" She gave this short, bitter laugh. "You thought I was jealous of you. Everyone did. Perfect Hannah with the perfect grades, the perfect life. But it wasn't jealousy. It was survival." I didn't understand then, not until weeks later, when she ended up in the hospital. A neighbor had found her collapsed in her apartment. I rushed there, frantic, and for the first time in years I sat by her side while she slept, her skin pale against the white sheets. That was when her doctor pulled me aside and asked, "Are you aware of your sister's medical history?" I shook my head. He gave me a look that sent shivers down my spine. "She's been living with untreated trauma for years. Did you know? She's been in and out of shelters." My stomach dropped. No, I didn't know. I didn't know anything. When Laura woke, she was too tired to fight me, too tired to hide. And so, in halting words, she told me the truth. The nights she disappeared, as a teenager weren't just about parties. They were about escaping our house, about running from the same people I thought were protecting us, our parents. Laura told me about things they said to her behind closed doors, the constant put-downs, the subtle manipulations. The way they told her she wasn't wanted, not like I was. You were the chosen one, she said, her voice raw. I was just left over. The mistake. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her she was exaggerating. But then she told me about the letters. Letters she said Mom and Dad used to leave for me. Notes of encouragement, money for books, reminders of how proud they were. She never got those. She got warnings, punishments. Sometimes silence for weeks. I wasn't jealous, Hannah, she whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. I was drowning, and you didn't even see me. That night shattered something inside me. For days afterward, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I replayed every moment of our childhood with new eyes, realizing how much I'd missed, realizing how much I'd failed her, not out of cruelty, but out of ignorance. And yet, ignorance didn't make me innocent. I started digging. Old photo albums, journals, anything I could find. The truth became harder and harder to ignore. Laura wasn't lying. There were gaps in the pictures, gaps in the stories. Whole years where Laura was barely mentioned. Like she was fading out of our family narrative. It was as if my parents had decided she was disposable, while I was their shining star. The final confirmation came months later, after Mom passed away, and I found a box in the attic. Inside were stacks of letters. Letters from Laura. They were addressed to me, written in shaky handwriting, dated year after year. Dear Hannah, I hope you don't hate me. Dear Hannah, I wish you could see me. Dear Hannah, I'm sorry for being a disappointment. Dozens of them, and sent, hidden. Mom had kept them from me all along. I cried until I couldn't breathe. I realized then that Laura's life wasn't just hard, it had been sabotaged. My parents hadn't just neglected her, they had erased her voice, silenced her cries for help. And I unknowingly had played the role of their perfect daughter. Blind to my sister's suffering, the truth about Laura wasn't that she was jealous of me. The truth was that she had been living a secret life of survival, of fighting for scraps of love that never came. I don't know if I can ever make it up to her. I don't know if she'll ever forgive me for not seeing sooner, but I do know this: I won't look away again. And for the first time, I see my sister not as the jealous shadow of my childhood, but as the survivor she always was. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this.